Merry Christmas. I've got my Christmas morning hair on. So 197 years ago today, we did not celebrate Christmas the way that we celebrate Christmas nowadays. Christmas at that time didn't have Santa Claus, didn't have the Christmas tree. The Germans brought that over in the 1830s. In the 1820s, it was primarily a drinking holiday. It was the custom for men and boys to take in the country on Christmas Eve, going in squads from house to house and firing a salute at each place. Whiskey was almost as plentiful as water then. The poorest man could take a bushel of corn from a neighboring or to a neighboring still house and get in exchange for the grain a gallon of good proof spirits. Not many families allowed the holiday to come around without being supplied with the necessary Christmas beverage. It was no reproach to take a dram on any occasion, and the best church members made eggnog on Christmas Eve. And eggnog at that time, all right, this is not actually George Washington's recipe, but it was attributed to George Washington. 1 quart cream, 1 quart milk, 1 dozen tablespoons sugar, 1 pint brandy, 1/2 pint whiskey, 1/2 pint Jamaican rum, 1/4 pint sherry. Mix liqueur first, then separate yolks and whites of 12 eggs. Add sugar to beaten yolk. Mix well. So the West Point cadets had smuggled in several gallons and then later even more of this eggnog into West Point on the 23rd of December. And on the 24th, on Christmas Eve, they started drinking. More whiskey was smuggled in. At one point, a couple of cadets cornered one of the military officers in charge, demanding a fife and a drum at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Future Confederate President Jefferson Davis was one of those involved in this. Robert E. Lee, future general in the Confederate South, was also involved in this, but he testified against a number of people. Incidentally, this was just a couple of years before Edgar Allan Poe would enroll at West Point. So he missed out on all the fun and frivolities, as much of a fun guy as he was. In any event, the northern barracks were almost destroyed, and approximately a third of the cadets were expelled. So bright and early in 1826, Christmas morning, cadets lined up for morning formation, and a good portion of them were terribly hungover, and many of them were still intoxicated. It was ugly.